Welcome to the Primo's Musings podcast.
Good morning. This is Sri Primo, and just as we just heard yesterday, world number one, Jannik Sinner, receives a 3-month ban for doping violation from WADA. That means that the suspension will be a 90-day suspension. We'll keep him off the tour for until about May, which means that he would not miss any Grand Slams. So he just won the Australian Open, played amazing, as we all talked about. He was almost perfect and he ran through that entire field. But the bottom line is, let's quickly go back to the actual case itself. He had tested positive for trace amounts of the steroid close to ball last March. It was right while competing at the BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells, which he will miss this year. His argument was that the trainer had used a spray containing the substance to treat a finger on his own finger and then transferred it to Sinner while giving him a massage. Now, most of this actually was handled very secretively by the International Tennis Integrity Agency. Basically meant that Sinner was forfeiting the prize money and the ranking points he earned at the tournament. And then the Independent Tribunal commissioned by the ITIA found that Sinner bore no fault or negligence. But then when this case spilled into the Open last August, just before the US Open, it did raise a lot of questions at the time a lot of the questions were raised about how the tennis authorities treated their successful players. There are a lot of players who don't have this benefit. We can talk about Simona Halep, but there's other players who don't have the benefit like Sinner had. So after the US Open, maybe in the fall, around fall, the World Anti-Doping Agency, what we call as WADA, appealed the Independent Tribunal's verdict to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. They wanted a stiffer penalty. In fact, they sought a ban of almost 2 years, but then they both came to an agreement yesterday by reaching a negotiated settlement to just miss 3 months. What WADA said was, and I'll read it, a unique set of facts of this case made the length of the suspension appropriate, and it believed that Sinner neither intended to cheat nor received any performance-enhancing benefit. But then the thing that comes to mind is, as it is, there are a lot of players have already come out and made a case. I mean, Medvedev came out and said it. Nick Kyrgios came out and said it as well, that they really felt that this was very unfair, that Sinner got away much easier than other players. So here we are, and he accepted the thing again. But the thing is that it raised a very important question, because even Medvedev kind of said, maybe the other players can reach settlements with WADA because maybe the players will be able to do that, right? But is that the case? That remains to be seen. It is a bad sign if it's only for one person, but it's a good sign if everyone can be able to do it. That's exactly what Medvedev said. Again, Kyrgios called it a sad day for tennis. The Professional Tennis Players Association, PTPA, which is an organization established by Novak Djokovic, said the bias is unacceptable and that many players received longer bans. So again, the good thing is that at least the PTPA said that it is launching a new pro bono legal defense for players facing allegations of doping or corruption. A lot of players like Tim Henman, Stan Wawrinka, everybody has come out and voiced their opinion about this. But unfortunately, as we know, when we go back to, like I did mention Simona Halep, but you know what happened with Simona Halep? Again, they were significantly different than Sinner, more complicated, and while we agree on that, but it leaves a very, very ugly mark on the sport right now because it doesn't exonerate tennis in any way. Again, I mean, do I believe that Sinner is a clean person? I do. But I do think that sometimes when you have something like this was done in secret, it didn't come out in the open, and I think everything was not done in a very, very clear manner. And I think that's something that tennis needs to clean up. Again, it kind of raises the ugly head of tennis. It definitely, a lot of players, not named Sinner are in the top 10. We'll have a lot of questions on they call it like a medieval feudal system, is again, it's under scrutiny right now. Again, the way it was done in a very, very easy way for Sinner in the sense that he wins the Australian Open. He misses a few tournaments. I think he misses the Doha Open, which starts tomorrow, I think next week. And then obviously he misses BNP, which is considered like the fifth Grand Slam by many, and a few others. And then where does he come back again? He does come back right at the Italian Open, which is a home turf for him again. And for someone like Stan Wawrinka to say, I don't believe in this clean sport anymore, that is very striking to me. Like I said, I mean, it's the consistency of what we need. Again, there was also the Iga Swiatek, and I think a lot of people have very, I would say, sour taste in the mouth because of the way the top players are treated. Again, Nick Kyrgios called it a sad day for tennis. Fairness in tennis does not exist. Again, this is a very, and again, Tim Henman also weighed in, call it is a little bit convenient. I actually had a chance to listen to a quick recap by Andy Roddick as well, kind of alluded to the same thing. So again, as I mentioned, I don't believe he cheated, but again, I think it's the specifics of how this whole ban went through, how the whole system, how the whole process went through is something that we need to question. And I think a lot of players are up in arms. I think, like I said, it's said to be way too convenient. And the only big tournament he misses is the BNP Paribas Open. And you know what? He may not even lose his number one ranking because he's so far ahead in the points. It's going to be very difficult for Zverev or even Alcaraz, unless the Alcaraz or Zverev, one of them continues to win pretty much every tournament that they play in for the next 3 months. But this is where we are. It is the sad part of tennis. As much as I enjoy watching Sinner play, I think, again, players have to take accountability for anything that their team does. But the way things went down in terms of how secretive the whole thing went down, and then even how the ban was handled, I think it is going to be very inconsistent for players who are loitering in, maybe mid 200 to 300 because they don't have the legal defense that someone from a Sinner or even like an Alcaraz or any of the, like Iga Swiatek, like let's put Sinner and Iga because they are the focus of the investigation at this point. So I am, again, really not happy at the way all these things were handled. Do I think Sinner deserved a 2-year penalty? I don't think so. But I do think that there is a need in the sport to have a consistent approach and a consistent process in the way they handle these doping allegations. And again, we recognize that a lot of these things could be different. The cases could be much different. The steroid that was found in Sinner is way different from what another player might be taking in. I mean, I know in the past we had the Maria Sharapova case, but the thing is that unless you have a much more transparent process in place, players are going to continue to question the validity of the process, and then thereby it kind of puts a very dark mark on the sport. Hopefully, these things can be addressed. Hopefully, a case like this brings a lot of things out in the open. There's already a lot of clamor from a lot of players, a lot of very important players. So I hope that the sport can look in the mirror and then come up with a better process and approach in terms of handling these doping situations going forward. With that, I'd like to wrap up a quick recap of the Sinner case. Thank you again for listening. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you for listening. Primo will be back soon.